So you want to know what metrics you should be tracking for an e-commerce company. Well, in this video, I'm going to cover the 4 master metrics that we track, as well as some others. And stick around because I'm going to give you some free tools on how you can track and prioritize those metrics and scale your business. So let's get started. So like I said, let's just start off with the free tools. If you go to our website, maybe you're already there, you can download this template that's going to show you all the different metrics that we track for an e-commerce brand, as well as, how those metrics align to the buyer's journey or the marketing funnel in order to help you scale your brand. So before we even get into it, this would be helpful if you jump over there. Link is in the description if you're not on our website already. And download this sheet because it's going to help you follow along here. So let's get into the 4 master metrics. So the first one is revenue. Now, revenue is the lifeblood of any business, and that's why you should be tracking it on a weekly, maybe daily level. It's showing you what dollars are coming in. It's so important that a lot of e-commerce brands actually get acquired even when they're not profitable, but they've been able to show that they can generate revenue. That's because larger companies know that if they can plug in a revenue generating company into their system, they're going to be able to fix the profitability problem later on. But revenue generation is really difficult, but it's the most important thing on an e-commerce business. You can always ratchet down your system processes and other things to become more profitable, but you can't do that if you don't have revenue coming in. So it is the king of all the metrics. We'll just start with revenue. That's one of the 4 master metrics that you should be tracking. It sounds like a duh, but we got to cover it. The next is customer lifetime value. So customer lifetime value is the amount of money that that a customer is giving to your business over a period of time. So you could do the entire lifetime of that customer, but we like to cap it at 6 months or 12 months. How much is a customer worth to your business in 6 months or 12 months? Now, depending on your business and how aggressive you want to be, you could pick 12 months, you could pick 6 months. If you're just starting off and you're trying to scale, we recommend going on the lower side, so 6 months, because it's not as aggressive, and we'll get into that in a second. Now, a lot of e-commerce companies run off of average order value. How much on average is a customer spending when they make a purchase? Now, this is great, and you should look at that, and that is actually one of our metrics, our secondary metrics in that spreadsheet that you can download. But average order value is not the right metrics to look at if you're trying to scale. So let's look at it this way. Say your average order value is $30. And, okay, we can spend this much to acquire a customer because we know they're going to spend $30. But if you're looking at customer lifetime value, let's say it's $100. Now you know that you can safely spend more than $30, more than what they were even worth with average order value, because you're very confident that they're going to spend $100 over 6 months, or maybe that's 12 months. So you can see how if you're operating your e-commerce business off of customer lifetime value, that's the metric that you want to use if you want to scale, because you can be more aggressive. You're essentially leveraging your marketing spend because or you're trusting that people are going to spend more with you over time. If you're wondering, how do I calculate customer lifetime value? You can Google that and look up the calculations to it, but we recommend, no affiliation here, but we recommend an app called Lifetimely. So if you're a Shopify user, I think they work for other e-com platforms as well, with a click of the button, you get instant calculation of what your customer lifetime value is: 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It also tracks it over time, so you can see how your customer lifetime value is changing, and we recommend looking at that. You can start looking at it on a monthly basis if you're making big changes in your business. If you're actively employing tactics to increase customer lifetime value, then track it more regularly. But if you are, it's the slow tactics, which customer lifetime value affecting it is slow because you have so many customers. And so to change those tides takes a long time. We recommend looking at it maybe every quarter and trying to hit a new goal every quarter for customer lifetime value. And Lifetimely is a great app for that. The website is lifetimely.io if you want to check that out. Next, cost per customer acquisition, and I would add cost per new customer acquisition. Now, this is how much does it cost your business to get a new customer, a paying customer, not a lead, not a prospect, but somebody who has actually bought from you. And a good CPA is between 30 would be amazing for an e-commerce company to say $45. That's a great, and that number obviously varies depending on what you're selling. If you're selling, in-ground swimming pools via e-commerce, I don't know how you would do that, but if you were doing that, I would imagine that your cost per acquisition would be way higher. But on average, for the brands that we work with and that we talk to, anywhere between $30 to $45 is a good range. Now, as you scale, that number is going to go up. And the reason that goes up is because as you're scaling and trying to reach more people, you're reaching farther to get people that aren't fence sitters anymore. They're not as targeted as somebody who may be searching for the solution that your products provide. They might need to be, they might not even recognize that they have a need yet. And your marketing is going to disrupt their day and make them realize, oh, maybe I do have a problem in my life. And then your marketing is going to have to persuade them of why your brand is the right solution and yada, yada, yada. So when you're reaching farther, it just requires more marketing touch points, more marketing spend to get them to become a customer. Therefore, when you're scaling, it's just going to cost more and your CPA will go up. Now, this is the critical part. This is why operating the business off of customer lifetime value and not average order value is the way to scale. Because if you're trying to scale, you want to be able to acquire customers for not the lowest, not the cheapest, but the most cost. The more money that you can spend to acquire a customer, the better your chance of scaling is. It's the brands that can spend the most to acquire each customer that win. So back to our calculation, you might say, well, I don't know, how do I know how much that I can spend to acquire a customer? Glad you asked in your head. I don't know, maybe you weren't thinking that. But if you're not on our website already, link in the description. We have a little calculator here that uses customer lifetime value plus your cost of goods sold, the percentage. So what percentage of each sale on average goes to the cost of goods sold to sell that. So we use a percentage here because let's say you're a clothing brand, you're selling t-shirts and sweatshirts and jackets. Well, the cost of goods for those three products are going to be different. So we recommend using the average cost of goods sold in a percentage. And you want to be pretty conservative with this number because if you mess this up, then you could be losing a lot of money in your marketing. Because what you're going to do is you're going to use that calculation, your customer lifetime value plus your average cost of goods sold. Then you're going to plug in what's your desired profit. So if you want to break even, you put 0. If you're willing to even go in the hole for some reason, although I wouldn't recommend going below 0 here because you're already calculating on customer lifetime value, you could put a negative number, or you could pad it by a few bucks or $10, depending. This is your call. And the padding would just make sure that it's keeping you safe. It's basically accounting for costs that you didn't account for. So maybe pad it by a few dollars. That calculator is going to give you your acceptable cost per acquisition or your target CPA. You give that number to your agency. That's what they should be marketing, or that's what they should be targeting in their media plans, is the target CPA, not the ROAS, because ROAS is calculated based on the order value. ROAS is a good secondary metric to monitor the performance of your campaign, but it's not the metric you want to be aiming for if you're trying to scale the business. CPA is. The fourth master metric is marketing return on investment, or MROI. So this is not ROI, this is not ROAS, this is those calculations kind of get bogged down by attribution models. Like, oh, did it really come from Facebook? Did the sale really come from Google? This is marketing ROI is just a big dollars in, dollars out. And that's why it's one of the master metrics. It's really showing all the things that we're doing with marketing, are they making an impact for the business? And so to calculate that, it's your profit, which is revenue minus your marketing costs divided by your marketing costs. So a couple things to unpack this. So revenue, oftentimes that is just all the revenue that's coming from your e-commerce channels. If you're a pure e-commerce business, it could be all of your revenue. There's a good case to be made that all revenue has some kind of tie to marketing. If there was no marketing, there would be no revenue. So in a lot of cases, we do just use all of the revenue in this calculation. Marketing costs is where it's up to you. So, you got to ask yourself, are we going to include PR in the marketing costs? Probably. Are we going to include the production costs, the cost that it required to produce the ads that we're running? Probably you want to do that too. Are we going to include the cost for a copywriter? Are we going to include our website costs? Things like that. So the key here is not what you're including. The key is to consistently include the same things week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter, because it's not about the number. It's not about what is your MROI. It's not about that. It's about how does that number change over time, and you're trying to make that number go up over time. So stay consistent to which costs are you including in this calculation, and you'll be great, and track that, and you're going to obviously want to make that go up over time. So those are the master metrics, and you might be wondering, or I would be wondering, well, how do I make those go up in order to scale my business? How do I improve those master metrics? And what about all the other metrics that I've heard about? Well, that's where this tool comes in. So we've created a tool that takes all the different metrics, the secondary metrics that significantly influence and drive those master metrics. So you're not really focusing on what tactics to do to drive those master metrics. You're focusing on these secondary metrics that we've put at every stage of a buyer's journey or the marketing funnel. So next steps here for you would be download this spreadsheet to see what the starting point should be for any e-commerce company. Let us know if you have any questions, and subscribe and like this video if it helped you. Thanks.